Namaskar and welcome back. My topic today is how to develop a more personal relationship with God and why that is important. This isn't something that has come easily for me, and it's something that I've had to work on. But what I discovered is that if you focus on it and work on it, then it can yield some really wonderful results. So that's what I'm going to try to encourage you towards this time. So in his discourses, Shrii Shrii Anandamurti talked about this theme of the importance of a personal God and the benefit of a personal God in many different discourses. So I'm going to start by selecting a few passages from a few different discourses on that theme. So here we go. According to philosophy, the supreme entity who controls this universe is Parama Purusha. Parama means supreme. Purusha means either consciousness or witnessing entity or being, supreme being. He is also the nucleus of the cosmological order. But the Parama Purusha of philosophy, the hub of the universe, is a formless, impersonal entity, whereas human beings always prefer a personal God whom they can love and to whom they can explain the pleasures and pains of their life. Human beings cannot feel extreme love and affection towards an impersonal God or God of philosophy, because that is only a metaphysical concept, and the human heart cannot fully identify itself with an abstract idea. People cannot reveal the stories of their joys and sorrows, pains and pleasures, loves and affections to an abstract idea. They want a personal God to whom they can fully convey their feelings and sentiments. This is an absolute necessity. Human beings do not search for their God in distant nebulae and meteors. They seek him right near them, in their very midst. They want to accept him totally as their shelter in life. In the play of abstract imagination, people may derive some temporary satisfaction, but not lasting peace. The God of philosophy cannot provide complete fulfillment of people's deep internal urges. They want one to whom they can open their hearts. Such an entity is one's Ishta. Ishta is the Sanskrit name for your kind of personal spiritual goal. Maybe your guru, maybe God, but the entity to whom you turn in the spiritual sphere. So that was in a discourse called The Dharma and Ishta of a Yogi. You can find that in the compilation called Yoga Sadhana. Here's a second discourse on the same theme. Human beings want a personal God who will understand their joys and sorrows, who will have love for them, and to whom they can express love and feel kinship. They certainly do not want a God who will only impart words of knowledge or punish them and not listen to their tales of sorrow in a sympathetic manner. They want an entity who will sympathize with them cent per cent in their prosperity and adversity alike. And that's from A Devotee's Object of Ideation in Subhashta Sangraha, Part 11. And continuing, human beings want a personal God whom they will accept as their object of adoration, who will hold out sublime hopes before them as Lord Shiva did, as Lord Krishna did. Do not fear, do not be perturbed. Parama Purusha is with you. and that is quote, right? So Lord Shrii, this is the message, the feeling that Lord Krishna and Lord Krishna tried to give to human beings. Don't fear, don't be perturbed. Paramapurusha is always with you. To become involved in useless controversies regarding the Supreme Entity is meaningless. What is really important is to meditate on the personal God and move towards Him. And this personal God is the singular entity, the Taraka Brahma. Taraka Brahma means the liberator, the one whose mission is to liberate human beings. Taraka Brahma literally means a special manifestation of Paramapurusha which ensures emancipation, freedom, to the microcosms. The word Taraka means liberator, one who shows the correct way, one who loves as well as punishes, one who makes the microcosms his own. In this sense, Taraka Brahma is not only the liberator, the object of adoration, but also the loving parent. He is the eternal companion of unit beings in their joys and sorrows, not a god in the distant sky, but an understanding Lord in the house where they live. That was a devotee's object of ideation from Subhashta Sangraha, part 11. And we have one more. The entity whom you are trying to attain, Paramapurusha, is your own innermost self. Your relation with him is not external, to be defined by courts, laws, or society. It is a family relationship. The desire in your mind to meet God is only born when He is inclined towards you. It is the result of His desire to meet you. Your meeting with God is not a unilateral affair. It is a mutual thing. You walk one step towards Him, and He will come 20 towards you. So, we read things many times, but there has to be a moment in our life when we are ready to hear them and respond to them. And similarly, I have read these kind of discourses many different times. But it was just recently that I was going over it again, and a thought came up in my mind. I realized that I don't have a very chatty conversational relationship with God. I'm not the one who, has conversations where I tell God about my joys or my sorrows or things like that. But that's what it's talking about. It's saying that human beings want a personal God to whom they can open their hearts. So I thought, well, if it's that important, then maybe I can let me have a go at starting some conversationals with God and starting to emphasize that personal aspect. So I did two things. Just whenever I could think of, I thought, well, what do I want to say to God at the moment? And I won't say that a flood of conversation came up, but I would say that just that openness and thinking about it felt pleasant and felt good. And then I took that into my meditation also. And I just focused on this idea of a personal relationship And that word personal, as I was meditating, seemed to, immediately I focused on that, it added another quality. It added a certain beauty and depth. It helped concentration. It helped a feeling of, getting my heart more involved in the process. So I was amazed to discover, as I have found out with other things, that even though you may not immediately relate to an idea that could be helpful in meditation, if you focus on it and think about it and try to somehow bring it into your meditation, like many different things Shrii Shrii Anandamurti has suggested to think about in meditation. For example, the idea of, not keeping an umbrella of ego over your head. A very useful image in meditation, if you work on it and think about it, of the idea that the supreme entity, the supreme being, is always witnessing you. He emphasized the importance of that so much. And even though you may not relate to it, if you focus on it, think about it, develop it, work on it in your meditation, gradually you begin to realize how powerful and beautiful it is. So similarly, I discovered that with this focus on the personal, it began to bring a deeper feeling of personal connection, of intimacy, a smile on my face, a certain sense of trust and love. Of course, I couldn't have been meditating for all these years if there wasn't something of that there. But, these are beautiful things, and anything that you can do to strengthen it, of course, is really helpful. So, so that's what I've really got to share to you today. This, the stronger your sense of a personal relationship, I think the more confident we can feel most of the time, a sense of not being alone, of having someone who can help me, and of having more of an intimate and constant sense of presence of God. All those things come when you focus on this idea of the personal and give it a bit more importance. So I encourage you then, if that's something that you feel you need to work on, you may not, but if you feel that's something that needs to be strengthened, or that's missing a little bit in your spiritual relationships or your spiritual life, then just try focusing on it. Think about that when you're meditating, when you're thinking of the Supreme Consciousness. Try to bring that sense of the personal into it. It may not be immediately apparent how to do that, but it will certainly gradually reveal itself and become apparent if you keep that focus. All right? So that was what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you find it interesting and helpful, and hopefully even blissful. Namaskar. Have a great week.